I like it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I know it's been a minute. We're happy to be back.
See.
Everything is good in everybody's world.
Yep.
Rocking and rolling.
See.
Hopefully, since Biz fucked up and put the wrong date on here for the promo, everybody still knows we're doing a show tonight, even though we're back hopping back and forth. I was just told about this earlier today, so, you know, it happens.
Today is the what? 23rd? What did I put?
I was told. I didn't go back and check. So either we got somebody we can call out and say
I'm gonna go look at it.
They were wrong, but yeah, they were throwing you under the bus this morning, Biz. I hate to break it to you.
Meet me in the parking lot.
Yeah, meet me outside.
Meet me outside.
Anyways, welcome back to the show, Common Sense Podcast. We're happy you guys are all joining us here today. Hope you guys will welcome our guest, Clinton Elledge. What's up, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I can't complain. How's everything going here?
Man,
what's the word?
I'm saying, man, I'm coming off a phenomenal weekend of growth and learning with a lot of new friends, a lot of new connections, and I did something I didn't think I could do.
What's that?
Public speaking.
No shit.
Yeah.
You know, I heard that was the number one fear in the entire country above death is public speaking.
Yeah, my wife would agree with you 1,000%.
So how was it? What was it for?
It was amazing, man. So my friend Jason Redmond is Eagle Rise Summit. He had his very first one, and I bombed a speech months ago as a partner in my company, and I had to get up and speak in front of my colleagues and peers and clients, and I had 2 minutes, and I bet you I was on stage for 30 seconds.
Did you at least drink beforehand?
No. I was sweating.
Rookie mistake, man.
Sweating bullets, man. I thought because I do this podcast, I didn't need to prepare as much, and I would just speak from the heart, free flow with it. And I had this great idea to tell a joke and then roll into my thing. And then, like, as I'm walking up to the stage, I'm like, this joke ain't going to work. It's going to be a flop. Don't do it. Don't say it. Now I'm completely in my head.
Yep.
And now I have nothing going on. And like the first two that went off had like these awesome videos about their company in the background that ate up 45 seconds to a minute for them. And then they just followed right in suit and looked cool and said all the right things. And I was like, yeah, this is going to fucking suck. Here I am. Let's go. So I bombed that. I like to push myself. I like to learn. So being a guy from the Navy, you know, I hate even saying that, but like, yeah, like I've always had a love for the military, special forces. A lot of my family's been in the military, was in the military, is in the military. So I picked Jason Redmond because I knew I wouldn't quit in front of him.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
like this dude is a Purple Heart, Bronze Star, lieutenant of a SEAL team that has overcome so many things that I was like, I can't ring the bell in front of him. Because I was really worried about like, all right, I'm going to get here. I paid money. I can be like, I paid enough money. I don't have to do this. Like I did what I wanted. When it came to the speech thing, I could be like, not feeling it today.
Yeah,
don't think I'm going to do this. You got my money. I ain't doing it. But I knew I wouldn't do that with him. So that's a big part of why I picked him. And it exceeded every expectation that I had for it, the event, everything. I ended up having to do a 15-minute TED Talk on day 2 after 5 other amazing speakers, followed by 5 more amazing speakers that all have life-changing, amazing stories, several of them very seasoned. So it was motivation. It was awesome to be in the room with those kind of individuals, learning the tricks of the trades, as I'm sure you can relate to with what you've done that we're going to get into. But like being in that atmosphere, being around those people and learning and seeing that I could do it. I had 15 minutes. The only rule was do not go over. It is very bad to go over when you're hired for public speaking gigs. Oh, yeah. So you can finish a little short, but do not go over. I think I wrapped it about 13 and a half minutes. So I almost made the full deal considering I made my final draft of my speech between 8 p.m. and midnight that night before and created a slideshow, 15 slides in that time period. It was awesome.
That alone is impressive. I mean, and I sympathize. Like, I always found I almost worked better. You know, like in college, if you have a paper or something, that like crunch at the last minute almost pushes you into like excellence in a way that just having all the time in the world wouldn't. So I don't know. But so when you were up there doing it, did it feel like the longest 13 and a half minutes of your life, or was it like a blink of an eye?
For the first time, no.
Really?
For the first time, between some of the amazing coaches giving us advice, tips, pointers, and stuff like that, I'm not going to lie, I had to do some breathing exercise, some breath work right before I went on. Because again, but some of them going so well, I was able to feed off of that a little bit, play into that, use that kind of an opener, because I didn't have an opener. Mm-hmm. So I was really worried about how I was going to open my talk. Mm-hmm. But because they were so good, I kind of just got to roll off of them and be like, okay, well, everybody's kind of touched on communication. And what I'm here to talk about is communication, networking, and relationship building. Mm-hmm. And I was plugging Common Sense, the podcast, which I wouldn't have done if I'd have been a little more prepared and could have gone more. But that was my whole idea. Like, I wasn't going there to be a motivational speaker or a paid speaker, you know, like, but through the course of the process, I decided I might actually want to do this down the road. Like, I really like this. And like, I think the message resonated. I just got to learn how to make that message resonate better and tweak it now and take it from being just a 15-minute thing to maybe an hour thing, to where I can actually do that. So like, I am super grateful for the experience. I'm super grateful for Jason and Erica Redmond, their whole team. They were absolutely amazing. I learned so much. Like, it was truly a blessing.
That's cool. Well, and how good to have like a podcast that you've been doing for 2 years, you said about? Mm-hmm. I mean, that in itself is like a product and a brand that, I mean, it's like a good anchor to have in a position like that, because you're not then just some guy getting up there and going, hey, you should listen to me because I say so. Like, you should listen to me. And this is why, like, I got 2 years of great interviews to show you to like back it up.
Yeah. And that was cool. That was like one of the only parts like I felt I had to contribute to, because like at the end, they were telling these people that were speakers, and that, you know, some of them have written books, some of them are writing books about their story. And, you know, a big part of that was teaching them about podcasts as well. And they talked about it. And I was hoping for that part, that maybe just I'm going to hear something that I don't know. You know, like maybe there's something this guy has, their podcast guy, and I apologize, I can't remember his name. He was talking about the do's and don'ts. And I'm like, you know, I'm sure there's something I'm going to pick up here, which I did. You know, which was still cool. And it kind of reconfirmed some things that Biz and I have been working on, you know, short form content, which we really have to get better about and putting out more of.
Like, what kind of short form content?
Like reels and YouTube shorts and things like that.
Yeah, gotcha. Because we're long format. So like, you know, just taking those things and going from there. But, you know, yeah, I mean, so like that was great. So like, I'm kind of coming in on a high note, you know, like that was,
love that.
That was really cool. But
awesome.
Man, let's talk about, you know, first, before we really dig into your story, I just want to thank you and your mother, because and your father, I guess, as well.
They're saints.
Because
hi, Mom and Dad.
Roper is here because he didn't come out, but his family is friends with Naz and his wife, which you guys all heard me talk about this for months. That was the big fundraiser I did a little while back to raise money for Naz during his cancer journey. And they bought the Come On Common Sense, the podcast. And there was a little battle for this. So like they won, and I reached out to them, and it's like, oh, no. This is not for us. We're gifting this to my son. I was like, all right, cool. How's this going to roll? And it was like, and you're like, well, yeah, I'm down, but like, this is kind of news to me too.
Oh yeah, it was funny. My mom called me, and I was in the car, and first thing I said was, hey Mom, what's going on? And she goes, you're either going to love me or hate me. And it was like, here's what I did. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I was immediately super jazzed about it. You know, I was like, yeah, this will be a good time. I looked at some of your stuff, and I was like, yeah, this seems like a, you know, chill environment that I could get along pretty well in. Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, I know they had a great time, and you know, we're super happy to be able to support all that. auction and everything like that. And Naz and Kristen are just fantastic people. And I know I've worked closely with my sister Caitlin and my dad when they do triathlons and Ironmans and stuff. So, you know.
Well, awesome. I want to thank you and them. Like, that is something near and dear to my heart. I really appreciate that support. So,
of course.
Without further ado, let's talk about you, man. Like, give everybody a little bit of a background of where you grew up, a little bit about your childhood growing up, and, you know, kind of take us to where you are now.
Yeah, so I'm 32. I was born in 1991 in Midland, Texas, and I don't know if you've ever been out to West Texas, but
yep.
Yeah, it's
a whole lot going on out there.
Yeah, buddy. You know, it's funny looking back. Growing up, of course, I didn't know any different. So, you know, I was a kid and I had one of those little, electric trucks or whatever, Jeeps, you know, and the lot next to our house was just bare dirt, which of course in Midland is desert. And I'd go driving around out there among cactuses and prickly pears and just nothing, flat for miles. And I never thought anything different. Yeah, exactly. Like Wild West, like Bugs Bunny cartoon kind of thing. And it wasn't until I moved to Fort Worth, which was in the 4th grade, that I was like, oh my God, there's elevation changes and greenery. And only now when I drive back through Midland, I'm like, this looks like fucking Mad Max. Like, it's like smokestacks in the distance shooting fire out, and it's just like angry drivers all the time. You know, it's like, it's crazy. But yeah, I grew up out there. Family was all pretty tied into the oil and gas game. And my dad eventually, he was in finance and still is. And he got a promotion or changed jobs in 2001, I guess. And that's when we moved to Fort Worth. And man, at the time, that was like, oh my God, my whole world is upended. You know, I don't know if you moved around a lot as a kid.
Every 3 years.
Okay, so I'm preaching to the choir here. I moved once and it almost broke me, but man, I cannot tell you how glad I am I did, because it opened a lot of doors for me. But yeah, moved to Fort Worth. Went to school out here, left when I was 18 to go to college. I went to Northwestern up in Illinois, so that was a little bit of a change. I went from scorching hot desert to Fort Worth, to frozen north of Chicago. And
what made you pick that?
Of all the schools I applied to, it was the best one I got into. And I was kind of between that and TCU and Vassar. And Vassar I went to and I visited. I was like, man, I want to go to Vassar. It sounds great on paper. Everything's perfect. And I went up there and visited, and it was just hard as hell to get to, remote. I just didn't feel at home there. It was kind of like, you see this beautiful picture for like a vacation spot and you go there and it sucks. It's kind of like that. I was like, oh, this isn't stacking up at all with what I thought it was going to be. And then it just kind of by default, I hate to say it in retrospect, it wasn't out of great enthusiasm for Northwestern. It was just kind of, there we go. Yeah. And ended up being one of the best choices I ever made, because I had a fantastic college experience.
So what were you into growing up?
Growing up, I was always, it's weird to say given my later career choice as an actor, but I was like the most painfully shy kid you've ever met. Like always kind of, always just shy, not outgoing, didn't want to talk to strangers, always reading a book. I read like a freaking madman back then. Always had a book. But yeah, just very bookish, timid, quiet, kind of this meek little kid. And then I guess when I started getting into theater was when that kind of started changing. But
when was that?
That would have been after I moved to Fort Worth. And I remember in 8th grade, we had to pick our elective, and I was between doing technical theater and doing, backstage, all that stuff, or being an actor. And my older sister had done tech. And so I was like, you know what, this is the logical choice. I know all of the people there, and it wasn't a big school. It was like 90, 100 kids in a grade, but, it just seemed logical. But I handed in the form and everything. And then after the school day, when I turned it in, I just had this like weird voice in my head going, nah, like maybe you want to try something different. So I went to the arts administrator's office and I asked him if I could change what I wrote down on the thing. And I said, I want to do theater instead. He goes, yeah, we can do that. And so I got into drama, and then, man, the rest, I guess, is history. For the next, whatever it's, you know.
What made you do that? If you were a shy kid, like that would be the last thing that I would pick, because I felt like moving around and always having to make new friends and stuff like that. Sports was my equivalent. That was the equalizer. Mm-hmm. You know, baseball, cool, got that. But now you're talking about you're the shy kid. Like, what made you decide to go with theater? Like, what pushed you to get out of your comfort zone and say, oh man, I think I can act. Like, I want to go down this road.
You know, that's a damn good question, and one I'm not real sure I have a good answer to, but I think it must have had something to do with the story aspect of it. Like, technical theater is right there in the name. It's technical. You're using tools, you're building stuff, you're designing stuff. And I liked the idea of that, but again, like I said, I was a huge reader. I was eating books up, and I was always just enchanted by these like other worlds that were out there that you could just put yourself in by just reading about it. And I thought there's got to be something to that with the acting thing too. I don't think for a second it was all this cognitive when I was that age. It was just kind of like I guess a thing in me that I was like, yeah, maybe you just want to do it. And if it sucks, then you know, whatever. But
it's still a bold decision, because like I know when I moved from Kansas to Connecticut, you know, that was like 7th, 8th grade, you know, and like now we got to take swimming. Like everybody's mortified of having to be in swimsuits next to everybody else. And like, you damn sure aren't going to join the swim team, wear a Speedo. And like, now you're talking about the shy kid that likes to read books, and you're going to be like, ta-da, now I'm out on stage.
Yeah. And frankly, it's a miracle I even stuck with it, because the first play I was ever in, go figure, first play I was ever in was this play that was written for our class by this local guy and named Steve McGaw. And he was also the improv coach that I later took improv in high school. But it was about a baseball team, and I don't remember a lot of it. But at the end of the play, the baseball team comes in, and they're all supposed to be muddy from this rained out game. And I was one of the baseball players. I think I had 1 or 2 lines. But they gave me a pair of pants that were way too fucking big and no belt loops. And they go, here, just like take this belt and, you know, tie it around there and it'll be fine. And of course we go out there and roll in a mud hole. So my pants were all wet and heavy. And I get up there for curtain call and go bow, and my pants just go, poof, and I was like, this is literally the actor nightmare. Like the thing that you think is never going to happen and that you're worrying about for nothing.
You got pantsed
in front of an audience. And, I was like, man, I was like, maybe this is the sign, but, it ended up actually being fine. Everyone kind of thought it was just funny, and you know, I didn't get dogged on too hard for it, and it was just kind of a funny anecdote, luckily. But
that's awesome, because you know that is like one of the that's one of 2 moments that my little brother has gotten even with me for every bad thing I did as a big brother.
Really, pantsing?
He pantsed me in Connecticut at like a company function for my dad. In front of all the people. Like, we moved every 3 years, kind of as a group.
Oh,
so
my
like
God. It's
all government, FDIC, you know, it's like we're moving every 3 years, and in this group, and they were having a barbecue, and in the backyard was this big ass tree with a tree swing on it. Well, I'm 13 years old. I go out there and stand out and tell my little brother, push me. And this is 1993. So I am wearing like a full starter warm up. I think I had silk boxers on.
Nice.
I had wind pants on, the matching jacket, probably like Yukon Huskies or whatever I was supporting at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And then my little brother's like, I got you. And I remember this look, and I remember seeing my dad make eye contact with my little brother, who is getting me as high as he can. And man, my little brother, wham, pantsed me. Now I'm standing on a rope swing going as high as he can make me go. There's no jumping off. Like, my pants are now around my ankles. There's no jumping off. Everybody is outside looking at me. Just a swinging.
Literally.
Just a swinging.
He knew what he was doing.
My dad threw my brother the car keys as he was running, and he's like, you better stay in there until he cools off, because he's probably going to kill you. And like, yeah, I had to literally wait, like mortified, like just bare ass swinging on this swing.
How old were you?
13 years old, bro.
I got you. I was 33.
And you got pantsed?
I got pantsed in front of my motorcycle club.
No shit.
Ooh. Grown women and grown men, and my boy Craig thought it'd be funny because I always wore jogging pants, comfortable jogging pants, and I didn't get pants down to the nibbies, but I'm not gonna lie, I had a pair of boxer shorts that I just love. It was my favorite pair of drawers, man, and they were SpongeBob. I had my lucky SpongeBob.
33-year-old man wearing some SpongeBob.
33-year-old man had on some silk SpongeBob drawers. Pull up, on a freaking 900cc crotch rocket. It's supposed to be hard or whatever. And we were up talking about something. He just came behind me and yanked down my jogging pants, and there was SpongeBob. Hi, everybody. And I was just like, and they laughed, and I just. But then you have to be gangster about it.
You gotta stand your ground.
You just stand there. Look, I took kind of a little bit of a turn to the left, turn to the right, slowly pulled them up and sat down and just embraced my moment.
Bro, yeah, I get that. But remember the part about the silk boxers, because that was cool in 1993.
No, this was
like
2000.
I was butt naked with a.
You were swinging for real. You were swinging for real.
I was swinging, man. It was not good.
Yeah.
My Johnson would have swung out. We've been in there boxing. We would have been, if it wasn't for the SpongeBob having the good, and luckily they weren't old enough that the waistband wasn't gone yet. They were still snug, but yeah, anything on that, we would have touched every piece of furniture in that room.
Oh, man.
But anyway, enough talking about exposing our genitals as your story continues.
Yeah, it's just, I like the casual detour into the exposure, though. That was good.
Yeah.
But
this is improv.
Hey, I love it. I love improv, man. It's funny you say that. So I'm a financial advisor now, but I, again, was an actor before that. And I always tell the new guys that come in, and I don't mean to make myself out to be some kind of expert. I've been doing this for 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
And what I always tell new guys is dude, take an improv class. Because so many new guys come in, they get scared talking to people, or they get scared thinking on their feet, or they get scared picking up the phone and calling somebody they don't know that well. And I'm like, man, if I know it's scary as hell, but if you can just go do it, stick with it for 4 weeks or 6 weeks or whatever, you'll never be scared again to get up and do something silly, because there's nothing worse than getting up on stage in an improv performance and telling a joke that you thought of off the cuff that you think is going to kill, and it's just crickets. And you're like, shit, this is what rock bottom of being on stage feels like. And once you hit that, man, you can do anything.
Man, maybe that's going to have to be my next challenge, because I can't imagine trying to tell a joke. That's what fucked me up the first time. Mm-hmm. So, maybe there's something to that.
That's where most of the old school Saturday Night Live players, they all came from an improv.
Improv backgrounds.
In Chicago or whatever. And think about
Second
that.
City, yeah.
And even that's the name of it.
Yeah.
And even if you think about it now, if you watch
Laugh
Saturday
Factory,
Night Live, any of them things, and how when they forget a line, they slip or whatever, and they have to catch it on the fly. Think about that.
I do watch a lot more. I do watch a lot more comedians though now, because I like how they're storytellers.
That's all it is.
And watching them craft their story and making it relatable.
And then they have to be improvisational when a heckler or somebody like that interrupts them, or if they get off key or if they get too drunk. Some of them, but whatever. But that's something you may want to look into.
Yeah, definitely.
That's something they always say too. I had an improv coach one time who said, "All right, you get up there and do a scene, and I want you to not be funny at all." And that's harder than you would think, because after you do it for a little bit, you just get conditioned to be like, where's the punchline? Where's the punchline? I'm looking for it always. And you can forget to, the reason you're up there is to tell a story first and foremost. And the comedy comes naturally as an extension of that. So you get up there and then you start realizing it's a lot easier to find the comedy and stuff, because, okay, me and this guy come up with this scene, and then the jokes just start flowing once we know where it's headed and we're both on the same page. If you're both just up there scrambling to try and spontaneously generate jokes out of nothing, then it's going to be a lot harder to make happen. But
yeah.
So do you like what you do now with the financial advisement?
I do. I always tell people it's really not that different of a skill set than acting was, which is kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, you got to learn a bunch of knowledge about, stocks and bonds and how markets work and what financial planning is and what the sound practices are. And there's a lot of studying and homework to do. But at its core, the skill set is really pretty much the same. You've got to be comfortable in your own skin. You've got to be willing to convince somebody that you know what you're talking about. And you've got to be able to be told no a ton of times and not lose your head of steam on whatever it is you're trying to do. And I think that's really, being able to handle rejection like that was probably the best thing I ever learned in acting.
So that's quite a big shift from, you go to LA, you're doing the acting thing, you're trying to make that as an actor, voicing, whatever, to that extent that you're going down that path. That's quite a big shift of a career path from acting and thinking that's what you want to do to financial advising and, leaving that entertainment industry. So what do you think from the acting and all of that, how do you think that shaped your approach to financial advising?
I think, I think it's really goes back to what you want your service model to be. What is it you're ultimately trying to sell? Because, Lord knows you can go to any chamber of commerce meeting and any networking group in the city that you care to name, that you want to look up on Eventbrite, and you'll find 900 financial advisors there, and they're all telling you the same things. Yeah, we can get you invested. We can do this. We can get you insurances. We can do whatever. So why do people need to come to you? And that's the question any business owner has to ask themselves. As a business owner, I'm sure what's your value proposition? And it ultimately has to come back to the people-to-people relationship. I tell prospects and clients both now, there's very little I'm going to tell you as an expert in the field that you can't go look up on Investopedia or find out for yourself. We don't have some secret cabal that has all the knowledge that we're meting out to our clients. It's about, do you trust this person? Do you trust that they're going to help navigate you through the deep ocean of finance and all the topics out there? And do you like them? That's really the basic question is do you like the person you're with? Do you trust that they're doing this with your best interest and not to generate a commission and not to, raise their bottom line? So the focus, I would say, is more on that, establishing ourselves as a trustworthy presence who can just be more of, you don't have to call up and act like you're talking to your attorney or super formal. It's just call me up and tell me what's on your mind and we'll figure it out.
Right on. Well, before we get any deeper and I forget, everybody's going to want to know, they love this segment of what are we drinking? What are we smoking?
Yes. Perfect.
So I am smoking the Oliva Master 3 blend. These just came in. There's not a lot of them. They're really damn good. Apparently these have been really popular in the past. This is my first experience with them this round. I'm loving these. These are medium to full body. They got a lot of flavor, but they're not peppery. They're not overwhelming. It's a really damn good stick. I highly recommend this stick. For those that care, that's the label. I don't know if you can see it from there, but we'll throw it out there anyway. You're smoking our tried and true that we put out here for most people with the description you gave me of what you like to smoke. You've got the Genesis by DC. That's his cigar that he did with our man Luciano. So
good. I don't have nearly the vocabulary to describe it like you did, but thumbs up. Solid thumbs up from me, I would say.
And Biz, I forget what you smoke.
I got that Pictorial Granañejo, man.
Whew.
Yes, see.
Or
the Pictorial Red, as we call it, but no, the Granañejo and a stiff, solid Coke Zero with lime on the rocks.
I was going to say it looks like a Cuba Libre, but I guess left out the rum and just stuck with the
better
Coke.
than his Shirley Temples. He's been sucking
too
down
much.
for the last
Doctor
3
said,
months.
too much sugar in those. I didn't realize grenadine was 98% all sugar.
The diabetic over there going grenadine all the time.
Grenadine heavy with Diet Coke. Yeah, I totally canceled out everything. I just should have just drank a Coke with a teaspoon of sugar added to it.
We're gonna have to do some behind the scenes stuff too, because y'all should see Biz when he's trying to pick out a cigar to smoke. It's the most bougie thing y'all have ever seen. He tries to act like he's not being bougie. He's like, well, I could smoke this, or no, I already smoked one of these.
Because I smoke cigars all day when I'm editing and working, so the palate changes throughout the day. So
I gotcha.
Something else. And on top of that, let's just be frank. This shit is free. Make sure you get something good.
Get the money. Yeah.
Garrett gives good shit. So when you get it, you got to make sure you get. You know what I'm saying?
I would say that I like that method though, because
his bonus program in cigars is amazing, better than any 401k I've ever had.
Hey, I believe that entirely. But so I mean, y'all seem like you know your shit when it comes to cigars. Have y'all, I guess, been smoking for a while? What do you look for? Like, how do you decide what's a good cigar?
I would tell you that palates change. Like I used to be kind of a really heavier, dark and Maduro and all that, and then one day it just kind of switched to really more medium. And some days you feel in the morning you may go with a Connecticut with a coffee. It depends on where you are in the day, what you're pairing it with. There's so many things, and you just learn that in time.
It's kind of like music, man. Like, what mood are you in?
Yeah,
that's the way I look at cigars. I look at cigars, and like I do this with a lot of things. So like, it's like music. Like if you come into my office and I've got Chevelle blasting, I'm probably not in the mood to have a real casual conversation. I'm probably a little amped up and maybe a little pissed off, but if I've got some like Three Doors Down on, or, something a little more mellow, like I'm probably just jamming, man. I'm probably just.
And if he's listening to Snoop, he's not smoking a cigar.
That's true. That's true.
We got other things going on.
Yeah, we got other things going on. But yeah, I mean, like, I look at cigars, like, and I still, man, like, like last week we had Panda on, who like is going down and doing his own cigars now. Like,
oh, nice.
He literally speaks Chinese to me when he starts really getting into the cigars. Like, I mean, like, I don't know, bro. Like, I know what I like, I know what I don't like, but a lot of it's just trial and error, man. And like finding you a good lounge like Industrial Cigars and coming in where they have a highly curated humidor and telling them and just being open and honest and having conversation and being like, all right, so I was on vacation and I get it. I can't get a really good Cuban Cohiba here, but if that's what I liked and this is the realm I'm in, like what's my next step? Mm-hmm. And they'll walk you through that process, and like talking to people, like, and just kind of like, do you like spicy? Do you not? Do you just want something that's going to be real smooth? Mm-hmm. Do you want something sweet? Do you want something rich and savory? Like, if you can use some of those words, then they can guide you down that path. There's somebody that knows way more than any of us know about cigars. They can do that.
Like a sommelier almost.
It's exactly what it is.
What that is.
Gotcha.
It's the same exact thing. And like, it may not be a bad cigar, but it might not be your cup of tea. Mm-hmm. Like you're like, I didn't love this, but I didn't hate it. But these are the things I didn't like. All right, cool. Like, well, Luciano, like if you were like, that's just a little like, it just didn't give me enough there. I'd be like, all right, let's take you to the Maria Lucia. Like that's probably the next step for you, or maybe delay, or, any of the other things he's working with.
As long as you don't get one of them candy ass cigars, I'm cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Candy flavor.
Or that Jamaican shit, bro. Like, Michael made me smell when Josh and Michael were like, you can get one of these Jamaicans? And I'm like, I don't even know what the hell that is. And then, like, they made me smell it. It smells like a damn incense stick. I'm like,
really?
It reminded me of Biz. You remember back in the day, the cloves?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, they smell like cloves in cigars.
You talking about like the Black and Mild kind of thing, or like
kind of, yeah. Like, okay. But there was these other things called cloves that like everybody started smoking for a while. And it was like, man, take like a Glade potpourri can and make it into a cigarette. Like that's what they were doing.
That sounds awful.
It was terrible, man. Like these things were terrible, but everybody wanted to see how like hardcore they could be and what they wanted to smoke. And like, yeah, they're worse. Like, then crushes were the big thing where you could have a regular cigarette or you could have
the Camel Crush menthol. Yeah, I remember those.
It's like, bro.
The cigar thing, though, also, it's an opportunity to sit, relax, do whatever. Whether you're doing it by yourself, but it's a great, to me, the cigar lounge has replaced the golf course. To a degree, because I can't play golf. But as far as it's, It's a pure tobacco leaf wrapped in a tobacco leaf, binded by a tobacco leaf. There's no carcinogens. There's just no nothing. So I don't really think I get a buzz from it. I know there's nicotine in there. Maybe just because I'm used to it because we smoke so much. Some people get a little buzz off it. Some people inhale them and get sick, whatever it is. But it is something that once you kind of acquire the taste and you get it, it is a relaxing sport.
Mm-hmm. It really it's the first thing I did last Sunday after my speech and everything that we had to do that day was over. After we had our dinner together, because his facility is like right on the like Chesapeake Bay there. Mm-hmm. There's water, and I'm a water child. Like I love to be around or in water.
Well, Navy, you said, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I love to be around the water. Mm-hmm. So first thing I did, they were like, "Why aren't you up here on the patio?" I was like, "Y'all had the doors open. I didn't want to run anybody off. I didn't know how many people were cool with cigars and whatnot." Like, man, but I had one with me. I gave a few out, and like, man, I was over there chilling. Like they had a nature trail that kind of like went off this way and went to the park. And then there was like part of the little like Bay River area over there. And man, I just sat and enjoyed that moment, man. Like, and that's what's great about cigars, man. Like you can just like sit back, relax. It's almost like meditation, you know, like you get that moment.
Do you ever, so if you travel like that and you bring some with you or a bag of, you know, stuff that you feel like you might smoke over the time you're gone, do you find that happens a lot where you fire one up and then all of a sudden people come by or, you know, want to join you, or is it kind of the social aspect?
It just depends on where you're at, what your audience is, you know, but yes, I mean, that by all means happens. They're like, "Why are you so into cigars now?" Or like, why? And it's like, you know, you start explaining to me like, "All right, well, I want to try it. Maybe I haven't had one." Like, that's why I always take extra. Like, you know, if I'm figuring, you know, perfect example, like, I'm getting ready to go to a family reunion in Ohio. Like,
he stays stacked.
I just stacked this up to take on my trip, plus whatever else I have at the house that I'm going to bring. Because I know, like, whether it's, you know, once the kids go to bed, whatnot, like, one of my cousin's husbands or something's going to come out and be like, "Hey, man, like, can I get one of those?" And like, yeah, man, I want to give them a good experience. Because, like, if you can give somebody a good experience, like, you might not hit their exact perfect one off the bat, but like get them in a realm with something easy, then it just introduces them to them. And like it can find its own place to be a part of your, you know, of what you're doing. So
you go from it being a cool thing just to do, because that's when I started smoking. I thought it would just look cool, whatever. But then when you actually discover the nuance of smoking a cigar and it becomes your thing to do, it's a whole different thing. It's no different than think about when you decided to be an actor. And it was something I'd kind of do, and then when you really got into it, embraced it, understood it, and then it started really kind of, you saw the different facets of it and all that. Cigars are no different. It's like wine. Wine. There's 10 gazillion types of wine.
Yeah.
You know, but if you know you like wine, but then you'll find your lane, whether it's a Bordeaux or this or that or whatever type of wine. I like Pinot Noir, you know, darker wines with sweet taste. So it's like once you find your lane, then you find a way to enjoy it.
Have you, y'all know what the Dunning Krueger effect is? You may have heard of it, but
sounds like a boat.
The
Dunning Krueger.
That would actually be a killer boat name. But I'm going to botch this explanation, but it's basically, if you think of a graph, it's like a chart of how good people's skills actually are versus how good they think they are.
Oh.
And it says,
I don't want to take this test ever.
I do. I would love to know what this says.
So I don't know if you have like a, you know, pull it up, Jamie, kind of thing. But if you look at the chart, it basically says as you start out doing anything, whether it's cigar smoking or acting or basket weaving or whatever it is you're trying to do, as you start out, how you feel you are at it goes up and up and up and up. And you start feeling like you're hot shit and you're an expert in it when you really don't know that much. And then there comes a point where you get in it long enough that you realize, shit, I don't know anything. And then it hits this trough. And then only after that is when it starts climbing again. And then you're actually into kind of the more true mastery level when it's like, now I know, like Socrates said, now I know how much I don't know. You know, that's the only time you really know anything.
It says it right here, the Dunning Krueger effects for the unskilled and unaware of it. That's exactly what it says on the site.
I can't wait till we get this like multi-camera thing down where we can do this and like you can like pull shit up. Like that would be so cool. Like,
I'm working on that
goals.
with Ron. Yeah, so you
goals.
can see goals.
Speaking of goals, I'm gonna stop for a minute here before we dive back into Roper. I want y'all to give Biz some credit, and y'all stay tuned and watch this. Biz finally got off his ex/ass.
Yeah.
And the Life After 50 podcast is going to come out. And he's going to do this shit come hell or high water.
Right on.
He posted his logo, y'all. So y'all go check out Biz's new page. He's getting it out. He's going to do this.
Life After 50.
So when this all started, I bought all this shit really for me.
Yeah.
I literally bought this for me to start my own podcast, and I never did it. I started producing everybody else's. And when I got deeply involved with Garrett's podcast and seeing everything and with the new thing he's developing that's like stratospheres above what we're doing, and my son would always say, like, yo, why haven't you done anything for yourself? That's what you initially did. And I'm like, and then it's just, I don't know what it was, but just sitting on the patio last night watching Dallas finally win the game last night. And, you know, smoking a cigar. Mm-hmm. Everything just seemed right, and it's like, why not now? And an opportunity came where I had a little studio space offered to me. Like, everything started to kind of line up, and it's like, why not?
You get that moment of clarity.
Once you put it on Facebook, you got to do it. I got to do it now. Like, it's no choice.
Yeah, you got to push. You got to
push. But life is too short, and that's the other thing. Being 50, I'm 52 now. I don't think of life as how many summers. I know.
I was gonna say I was like, what the hell are you doing producing a podcast called Life After 50? I don't believe for a second you're after 50.
Yes.
But
You said you're 30?
32.
What is my famous saying? I have Jordans older than he is. Literally. I was in 9th grade when Jordan was actually playing basketball. So when you wore Jordans, Jordan was actually on the screen. You know, we sit there, what ones he got on today? But no, it's just it's kind of like we waste I read the book, my man, The 4-Hour Work Week.
Mm-hmm. And Tim Ferriss.
And he says, there's a chapter in the book where he says, put the book down and go do something. Here's a chapter. Go do something. It's like a professional student. You learn, you talk, but you never execute.
Yeah, people love talking about shit, but doing shit.
And that was becoming me all the time, or I'm doing it for everybody else. I can do this in conjunction with everything else. But if you have, it's the feeling of self-accomplishment. Mm-hmm. You know, if you work on a car, if you build a car, you did it yourself. You didn't pay somebody. It may take you 5 times longer, but at the end of it, when you have done it, when you've done it, it's just something about it. So, and you know, the goal is to, like I said, I've learned working here, doing this for 2 years now, how to interact with people. So I kind of sat back and was in school a little bit with this to see how to do it.
That's scary.
But I'm going to do it a little different. I'm not going to go live with it. I'm going to pre-record it. I'm going to put a little bit of cinematicness to it because, you know, I'm kind of a filmmaker.
Nice.
30 minutes, keep it to the point. And if it grows and it goes, then I'll get better at it. But I just want to bite enough of it so I get it started.
Yeah.
You know.
We're going to change a little bit of that too, I think. We're going to see where it goes. But like I've been getting a lot of feedback. I've been looking at a lot of different things, and we're going to... Yeah, there's just things you learn along the way. But bottom line is, go fucking do it.
That's just it.
Like, don't just talk about it. Like,
it.
You got to, you know, as my friend Paco says, you got to be about it. You know, like, you can't, I mean, like, what good is your dream if you never chased it? If you just talk about it, you never actually put one foot in front of the other to like pursue it. Like
it's like going to the gym and watching people work out and expect to get muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, legit, like people got to do stuff. Get uncomfortable, like try it. But like life is too short. Like, you know, not everybody is as fortunate as my stepfather's father to live to be 102. I mean, God rest his soul. He just passed Tuesday.
Well, my condolences to your family too.
102 years old, man. One of the last, I think maybe the last living Marine from the Korean War.
Oh, wow.
I mean, like, but
1922. Then he was born.
Yeah.
Think about all the shit that happened between now and 1922.
The Great Depression.
Yeah.
All the wars.
World Wars. Two World Wars. All that.
Hey, man, I'm not shitting you.
You're talking about Christ and everything else, but he lived through all the wars. And I never got to meet him, but
up until 6 months ago, this man's still getting around. He's still being social, has his wits about him. You know, he was still baking his pecan pies. I don't think so, but he probably would have loved to, and I bet he told you a lot of stories about that. But, you know, like, still all at it. You know, I look at my grandmothers are still alive, you know, and they're 93. My Nana's about to be 95 this coming month. We're about to go celebrate her 95th birthday with her.
My grandmother was 93 when she passed, but like, she drove till she was 91.
Yeah, you watch them deteriorate, though, and, like, you know, like, that's super hard to deal with. Like, at least he went real peacefully, not in pain, and he made it to 102, man, and he was still living life. Like, he was still active and getting around at 102. I do not want to live to be 102. I don't want to make it past 90, honestly, I don't think. Like, I want to go in my sleep peacefully. I don't want to drown. I don't want to burn to death. You know,
just
like,
go to sleep and wake up in the upper room.
Like, cool. Yeah, I don't want to do that. But, like, yeah, like, you gotta look at those things and kind of wonder, like, you know, like, man, damn, is he sitting there going like, man, I really wish I'd have done that. Like, I talked about doing this podcast and, you know, talking to people, or, you know, just like doing this thing I did last weekend. If you'd have bet me $1 million prior to going that, if I'd ever even remotely considered being a speaker, paid just on the side, whatever, I'd have told you are fucking crazy. Like, I don't have and you know, and it's funny because I say everybody has a story, but yet I was judging my own story and saying my story is not good enough. Like, why would anybody want to hear my story?
Yeah.
You know, and every human being does that. Like, we're forgetting how to communicate as humans and how to be personal because of these damn phones. I mean, I'm even guilty of it. Like, the other night, my wife was like, "Are you gonna put your phone down?" Yep, you're right. Absolutely. Like, I've got my fucking phone in my hand and I'm trying to relax. Like, it's still, we're still treating it as a lifeline.
Yeah.
And phones are not a lifeline anymore. They're just not. I mean, like, go to a homeless camp and hand out blankets and jackets in wintertime. I would be willing to bet you, and I know because I've done this, 2/3 of these homeless people have a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yes.
It might be a, like, flip phone that's like,
but
somebody in the family
cellular service.
But they have a damn cell phone. But is that their lifeline? Are they living off of that phone? Like, and I mean, I'm not saying a phone doesn't have its place in time and purpose, but especially the younger generations and everything, like, people are forgetting how to communicate, how to have a one-on-one conversation, how to operate, how to be personal. People forget, like, when you just live off of text message and email, there's no tone. There's no personality.
That's why I will die on this hill. I hate texting as a form of communication. I guarantee you my friends will back me up on this because I never text them back in a good, timely manner. But, I mean, think about the length of time humans have been around. And for the vast majority of that, if you wanted to talk to somebody, it was, hey, I need to tell you something. For the last 100 or so years, we had access to a telephone, and only, you know, say the last 2 decades, maybe everybody has been able to text. And in that time, it's crazy how quick, like, the paradigms of how we communicate have changed. And people you're right, people don't really know how to have conversations like that anymore. And there's this expectation that you're always reachable, which I think is also not, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I like to kind of be independent. I like to do my own thing. And so if, you know,
people need to create boundaries again.
Yeah, exactly.
And people need to get back in the real world. Quit living on fucking social media. And, you know, like, that's why I like doing this, you know, because people are turning to podcasts to get news, information, because you could put whatever you want out there on social media. I mean, I could, you know, not me, but, like, I mean, anybody, like, you go rent a Ferrari for the weekend and post up, take all these pictures on and be like, yeah, I'm a boss, I'm balling, I'm doing this and that. Like, nobody else on social media knows that you rented that shit for the weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
you're
the Dallas $30,000 millionaire. You're living in your mom's spare bedroom. You make $30,000 a year, and like 90% of your paycheck goes to your leased 5 Series BMW or your Porsche or whatever. You're putting on a front, and like,
yeah.
And to the people that have actually done it, like, kudos to them though too. Like, cool, get your come up, get your props, but like, I want those people to share the story, because I know that story was not Porsches and Ferraris and mansions and all this other shit that they very well may now be able to do. Let's talk about that come up, because not everybody's putting that come up on social media. They're putting all the glitz and glamour when they got there, and they ain't showing
social media
what they had to do.
Is a lie now. Everybody kind of knows it now. It's like you can't believe 80% of what you see, and it's almost like everything goes in a circle to me. And when you see more of the humble humility stories of people sharing not successes but failures, and when people are actually real, and if they're asking for something, I mean, it's got to get to the point to where, because like you said, everything is rented, nothing is real, and it's just all a way to live a facade.
Well, I always hear stories about Instagram influencers or whatever there's like a set, I guess, in LA that you can rent, and it looks like the inside of a private jet. So influencers will go rent it and take all their pictures on the inside of it and look like they're flying in a G5, and then it's like, come on.
Y'all hear that? So even Hollywood's telling you that in Hollywood, like, a lot of these imposters, I like to call them.
Well, speaking of that,
are out there doing that.
How did you get into voiceovers and things like that? Was that out in LA when you started doing that, or?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, ladies and gentlemen. He also did or does voiceovers along with his other repertoire. He's going to use his
deep, sexy
voice.
That's
right.
Now.
In a world. No, I really just kind of fell into it. And, you know, growing up, I can remember a few times where, like, I remember one time my friend Parker's dad, we were in his car, and he was like, you have a good voice for radio, or, you know, you should look into doing radio. And I was like, oh, cool. I didn't think anything of it. But then I moved to LA, and like the first year I was out there, of course, you know, you're an actor. That means you're taking any job under the sun, like whatever it is, waiting tables. Oh, you want me to stand in for the background of a, you know, whatever. Sure. I'll do it. Maybe not some kinds of films. It depends on, I guess, your
Mom, Chicka, Wow Wow.
You have to go to North Hollywood for that.
But I'll do the voiceover for it.
Oh, that's an untapped industry right there. Yeah, but
does that exist? Voiceover for like porn?
Oh, man, I don't know.
I bet you they do overdubs. That would be, well, probably the old school ones.
That would be hilarious, though. What if somebody like
they do like
Foley,
like Foley? You just have some guy in a microphone going like this,
or some guy just doing the voiceover, adding the funny voice to the guy or the girl. Like, that would be hilarious.
I haven't seen that yet, man. Hold on. You know how they do the animal voiceovers?
I just started a whole new trend or a whole new.
I was going to say
that. Podcast.
Back to LA.
They got it in VR now. Who knows what the next thing is? But
you're right. Not that I've seen it.
No, of course not. No, it was. So I was looking for jobs, and I just, you know, you look. There's these websites you sign up for, you know, casting networks, and you know, the listings for auditions. And I think there was one that said voiceover work. We're looking for dubbing voice actors, and I didn't know how to dub. I didn't know what that really even was. But I was like, yeah, you know, you just click them all and hope that somebody responds back. And they did. So I went in for the audition, and it was for a voiceover studio in Burbank. And they were pretty newly founded, but their whole deal was, and like, I don't know who the fuck saw this business potential, but they're a genius, whoever it was, because they would take telenovelas from Latin American countries in Spanish, bring them into the studio, and then actors like me, they would have an English translation script, and you would dub them into English. So you'd be given a character, and you'd be, you know, recording it and doing all the dramatic stuff. It was a lot of fun because, you know, telenovelas are always a little bit super crazy, but yeah, very over the top. I mean, and it was a lot of fun. But they'd take these, package up the dubbed telenovela, and then sell them to like Angola, and they would broadcast them on public TV in Africa. because I guess the lingua franca is always English. And so they were like, hey, we just need shit to put on TV. So I was like, I don't know who saw that whole like corkboard map, you know, chain of progression happening there, but we did a hell of a lot of them. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of hours of recording these things. And that was kind of how I fell into it. And once you do one project and you do a good job and you get to know the people, then they keep calling you back and back. So for like 6 years, I worked for this company. And every once in a while, they would have a foreign, like a Russian movie or a Chinese TV show or a video game come across their desk, and they would need English dub done for it. And so I was one of the guys that they kind of consistently would call, which was awesome, because any kind of consistent acting work you can get.
So were you like, did you in the telenovelas, were you always like Duke Sparrington? Like that was your character?
That kind of shit.
You,
it was
you were like that guy. You were him for the whole series.
Oh yeah, there was one guy. I think it was a Venezuelan soap opera, and he was a detective. And you know, it's a detective of like a caricature of a detective. He shows up in a wife beater and leather jacket and aviators in every single scene he's in, inside, outside, doesn't matter. And just always like, I know who killed your wife, and then a 30-second pan in on people's faces. And, I mean, it was just hilarious to record some of this stuff.
But they're crazy about them.
Oh yeah.
I went back to Nebraska last weekend for they do Cinco de Mayo the week after Cinco, because Warren Buffett, who
the Berkshire shareholders
so he had the Berkshire meeting, and that literally trumps everything. This man has enough money to push a whole national holiday from Mexico back a week. But the guy that was the main singer, he was some big time. He's older now, but a big time telenovela actor that turned to singing. And when I say these old Bettys came out, I was waiting for some old, like, 75 size G bras to get thrown up on the stage. Like, these old women went crazy.
Bro, that happened 2 years ago in Myrtle Beach on our golf tournament. Like, we go to this, like, shit-ass wharf bar by the hotel all the time. I wish I could think of what the name of it is right now. Hopefully one of my buddies are going to, like, chime in here. But, like, one night when we go in there, because they have live music and shit, they got stages inside, outside. They had an Elvis impersonator. Bro, there were my grandmother times 100. They were up there and he had all this shit. He's throwing scarves out like Elvis did, and he's roping them in with it. And these women are losing their minds.
I got pictures.
Literally, one of the women threw a bra on the stage. I was like,
and it looked like a sail, didn't it?
I mean, it looked like something from Coneheads, man. It was like this huge thing, and I was like, what just happened? Like, what are we dealing with here?
But how does that feel, though? So now you're this popular actor, but nobody knows you. Like you ever go somewhere with your chest puffed out and you may see him, you're like, that's me.
No, man. You know what? I wish and people always say like, well, would I hear your voice in something? And I'm like, honestly, probably not. Unless you've been watching public TV in Africa lately, probably not. You know,
I was in Ghana last Thursday, and Rover, I heard you. It just
I was in Dynasty Warriors 9 on Xbox, which is like a long running installation, but like not a ton of people play it. So like the hardcore nerds will sometimes be like, shit, I played that game. Like, oh, you were that guy? That's happened once or twice.
You're the orc that I killed on screen 7.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is, like, I'm a big gamer too. But this was a non-union project, so no residuals, anything like that. They pay you hourly, and then that's it. And so I had to go to fucking GameStop and buy the game off the shelf. And
to hear yourself.
And I popped it in my Xbox, but I turned it on and I played it, and I picked the guy that I knew I was voicing, or there were actually 3 of them in the game. And I turned it on, and of course, most voice act, like video game action kind of stuff like that, is you get in the booth, and for 3 hours, they're going, okay, now can you please pretend like you're falling off a cliff? And you go, ah! And then they go, okay, that was great. Can we get it half a second shorter and pitch it up a little bit? And it's that for hours.
Oh, and that's so it's just tedious as hell.
Yeah.
So is that as painful, like going back and listening to it when you did buy that game off the shelf? Because I know, like, early on, Biz used to make me go back and listen to like the early episodes, and he's like, "You got to pick out shit and like see where you like fucked
and fluctuate."
That is the,
and it was the most painful thing to hear my own voice and all the you know, like just the stupid shit you do when you're first learning, and like learning how to carry on a conversation, learning how to ask the right questions, stuff like. So is it the same thing? Like,
did you have speaking parts, or did you just fall down the whole game?
No, so there was lines too. So there's they would split it up, and so it's there's the, I guess, action elements, and that's like, you know, light hit to the stomach, like medium hit to the stomach, like heavy hit, and you do 1,000 takes of those, and then. To your question, there would be times when I was playing it where I was like, I definitely could have done that line better. And I think that's just part and parcel of acting. Like, you're always going to have that, like, critique, I should have done this. But for the most part, I was happy with it. And it's kind of badass. Like, you know, it's this Japanese game, and it's real, like, anime-y kind of. And so huge over-the-top action sequences. And, you know, when you see this guy, like, charging up an attack, and he goes, there's nowhere to run, and it's your voice coming out, you're like, that's kind of cool. Like, I could get used to this. Like,
that was badass.
You know, it was really neat. And again, being a long-time gamer, in addition to reading when I was a kid, I play a lot of video games. And I was like, to actually pop in a disc to your Xbox and then hear your voice coming out of the TV was a pretty cool moment.
You ever take it with you? You go over to your mom's house for dinner and pass the potatoes. Like, stop it! Stop it! You're not here with your... Stop with the voiceovers.
Man, I have... always been told by my family that when I was a kid, I would do impressions of people. And that's when my mom was like, oh, you should, like, you know, she was excited when she heard I was doing voiceover work, because she was like, I knew it would eventually happen. You know, like, you would always do these accents or impressions or whatever when you were a kid.
So what's your favorite impression to do?
Oh, Jesus. It's hard to say, because most of the impressions I've done in the past are like, I practice in the shower or in the car, and then they never see the light of day. And I'm like, in my head, it sounds pretty good. But, like, I don't know. Publicly, as far as accents go, it's always fun to go somewhere and just, like, you don't know anybody and just put on an accent and see if it holds up. Like, that's the real test, is if nobody calls you out on it, then maybe, like, you got the chops.
My wife does this to me. So I attribute this to moving every 3 years growing up. And, like, they joke that I'm like a social chameleon.
Oh, yeah.
Because what's the first thing you want to do when you move to a new area? You want to blend in. Mm-hmm. You want to be one of them.
You and my wife are the same person, because I know what you're about to say. Wherever you go, you just end up talking like them.
But I do it without even knowing I'm doing it.
Yes.
And to places I've never been. So, like, she has cousins that are triplets, 2 boys and a girl. They live in England. I have never been there. And, like, the first time they came in there, when they come, they're here for like 2 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, you're around them a lot. Well, after like day 2 or 3, I am literally just conversing with them. I've never been to England. I'm now sounding like I am from the same neighborhood they are. And my wife, like, pulled me aside. She's like, are you making fun of them? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, what are you doing?
You just told somebody to go get something out of the boot of the car.
You just called him a bloody wanker. And I'm like... I didn't even realize I did that. Like, and it's like, but it's natural now. Like, I know, and I see it and I realize it, but, like, it's a natural human reaction. And I think, like, that's where so many people are missing in on the communication part of, like, you want to relate. Like, and how do you do that? Like, is it by the lingo? Is it by common subject? Is it things you like, mutual interests? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of different ways to tackle that, but you got to pick one and kind of go with it. And I think that's what helps you relate. And, like, and it's not making a mockery of it. Like, none of them ever called me out on it. My wife pulled me aside and was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you are sounding like you're from, you're British. And I'm like, I had no idea I ever did that. And she's like,
what accent do you do the best?
I do a pretty mean Scottish accent.
Let's go.
I'd say. All right, you want to talk like you're from Edinburgh? Or have you ever been to Scotland? It sounds like you're a golfer. You're quite an enthusiast when it comes to golf. Have you ever been to actually Scotland and played any of the courses there?
That's awesome.
Pink diamonds, blue stars, purple moons. It's about as close as I can get to anything.
Well, those kids probably went back and got on the plane and were like, howdy, yo. Like, how do you know? They probably picked up your text and shit too. So,
I guarantee one of them said y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Guarantee it.
So you've done voiceovers. Any screen time?
Yeah, occasionally I would have. So, again, when you're starting out, you're taking anything and everything. A lot of student films. I think that's pretty much any actor off the bus in LA is going to be doing a lot of that. And then you kind of hope that these kids that are graduating and going into the industry will be able to remember you and pay the favor back down the line. But I did a couple of bit parts on Amazon shows. I had a line in a show called Them.
Man, I'm watching season 2 right now.
Are you really?
Hell yeah. It's called Them the Scare. So you were in the first one, everything was back in the 50s?
Yeah, in the 50s. So if you remember, I think it was, I forget what episode it was.
I'm about to pull your ass up right now. Hold on.
I have one line in it, and it's like a town hall meeting. And of course, this is, if you haven't watched it, it's about the 1950s, and it's about one of the first black families to move into Compton in back when it was
all white back then.
All white neighborhood. And so,
you never seen that? Oh yeah, it's crazy. And this is kind of, it's kind of like how can you say it? It's like
a quasi horror. It's almost like Get Out. Almost.
It's like Get Out meets.
I don't do horror.
Like Stepford Wives
because when you first see it, it's like Happy Days meets Get Out meets horror. Poltergeist.
Yeah, I don't watch horror, so that's why.
But anyway. You don't remember the episode or nothing?
I think it was. I want to say it was episode 3, but all I was a white dude in a town hall meeting that, they're talking about, oh, we've got to kick this family out, blah blah blah, and she's like, we have to take action, and I stand up and go to jail, Betty, and then I sit back down, and that was my line, and it's a total of like 2 seconds on screen, but I was like, man, I made it. My name in lights. That was a cool moment. And also part of it as an actor. How long,
real quick, I don't mean to interrupt you, but how long were you waiting around in the setup and all that to deliver that one line? How long was that day?
Oh, that day, call time I think was 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and then you go home probably about the same time that night, 6 or 6:30.
For you to say that one line.
For me to say that one line, and you get shuffled to set, from set. You show up, you go to the costume trailer, and then the wardrobe trailer, and then the hair and makeup trailer, and they actually gave me my own trailer, which I was like,
for one line.
I was like, I guess when you have a speaking part, I guess you're separate from all the rest of the extras, so you get that treatment.
You're a little more bougie.
Exactly. I mean, but you go in and you open it, and it's like a travel trailer from the 90s, and you're like Formica everywhere, and it's like, I'm not going to complain about getting a trailer. But I was
by
like,
no
means.
This
is pretty cool.
So what made you switch? Like, where was all right, I've done my thing here. I'm going to go back to Texas and partner up with the old man and do financial advising. What was the switch?
I think so. COVID was really the final push I needed, but for a while there had been this kind of notion percolating in my head. I was getting frustrated because I had some very close calls as far as like getting to that next level. The one that comes to mind was, if you remember, Bill and Ted 3 came out. And I was excellent. And I went and auditioned, and they needed an actor that could speak German, and I don't speak fluently, but I studied abroad in Germany, and I have a pretty good ear for languages, and it's just something I like to do as a hobby, is learn languages. And so I had some German under my belt, and they needed an actor to play Mozart in that movie, because I actually never ended up seeing it. I guess there's like a time travel thing or something. And so I was, I think, second in line to play Mozart, and it was between me and this guy, and I was like, shit, this could be it. I'm going to be in scenes that cross from like fucking Keanu Reeves, who's now like had this big resurgence and is one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. And I was all jazzed, and my agent kept calling me every day, giving me updates. And finally she goes, yeah, they gave it to the other guy. And I was like, oh shit. It's a heartbreaking call to get.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of heartening because you're like, all right, I'm doing something right. Like, I just need to get more at-bats, and maybe I can make this work. So I kept going, and eventually just got frustrated and I guess burned out a little bit, and realized like I need to change it up somehow. And the other part of it too is it's really fucking expensive to be a broke actor in LA. Like, not only are you
$5 and 67 cents a gallon for gas.
Yeah,
milk's $20. Oh, it's
well, shit. It's that. I mean, all the living expenses of LA. You're working crazy jobs and serving, tables or whatever. And on top of that, you've got to pay the subscription fees for these websites, which is probably $100 a month across all of them. You've got to get new headshots every 6 months or a year. You've got to pay for acting classes. You've got to do. I mean, it's like that city is engineered in some ways around stripping every last dollar out of the pockets out of those people that show up on the bus and go, I want to be a star. And so I realized, like, I still have a passion for this. I still want to do it, and I still see a future in this for me. But wouldn't it be a lot easier if I could approach it again with means, like not having to worry about accomplishing all the day-to-day things in my life. But if I can take a tactical retreat, and it might be 10 years, and I need to build up this other career, and I need to figure out, and it needs to be something I enjoy doing and that I like doing and I have a passion for. And also helps a lot that I have a family member in the industry who can help you get that leg up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, now my thinking is I consider it more of a tactical retreat, if you want to call it that, of just let me feather my nest for a while. Maybe, like I said, maybe it'll be a decade, maybe 10 years. That's fine. But I'm trying to think long term here. Let me build up a sustainable way for me to provide for myself and my family, if that becomes a thing, and then be able to approach it from a much more positive and much less desperate position. And I think that's the plan for the moment.
I like that, man. So like you're not letting go of the goal. You're adding another factor so that you can pursue it more effectively.
Exactly.
So it's not like you rang the bell, you didn't quit. You're still going to go after this, but like let it have its time and place. And maybe that time and place, because the voice is still there. The voice is not going anywhere, right? So like maybe that transitions, and maybe a little bit, maybe the gray fox and you like rock and roll with it.
I found it.
What?
Oh, did you?
You had the big horn rim glasses on and everything. Yep, because your name pops up. Clinton Roger, like bam,
Yeah,
pops up.
there it is.
You are random component number three.
A random Comptonite. That's what it was.
Comptonite,
I remember that.
Number 3.
So maybe like what's a skill maybe that you picked up on in LA doing the acting, doing the voicing, like that unexpectedly maybe has turned out to be something that you use now in this other pivot that you rely on now? Like what's something maybe that you picked up from that?
I would say the biggest thing is, and I kind of alluded to it a little earlier, but being able to be told no ad nauseum repeatedly with no end in sight and still keep going is, I think, probably the most valuable thing, because it applies to any industry where you're building up your own business. And whether that's trying to get new clients or whether that's trying to grow your existing business or whatever it is, if you've got to pick up the phone and ask people for their business, it doesn't matter how good your value proposition is, you're going to get told no a lot. And not letting that get to you or dishearten you, is a huge skill set. And I think it can't be overstated how important it is to have that kind of resolve to keep going. And Lord knows you certainly get told no a lot in Hollywood. So I think it definitely did a lot of service in building that up.
And I think for someone your age too, like that's huge. Like I think that's a problem with this next generation too. There's so many participation trophies and bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Like they get told no and they crumple. Like they need therapy. Like they've got to like everything's doomsday now. Like, but to be able to see, like, even some of yourself, like you were pursuing your dream and you were like, all right, step back. Like I can still do this, but maybe I need to make sure that my ground zero is a little firmer so that I can pursue this without these other stresses.
Yeah.
And like that's huge. Like, but you took a step back to look at it, evaluate it, and go, all right, if I really want to do this, maybe I should do this for a little while and then come back to it. Like that dream's not gone. We're not still chasing the dangling carrot. I am still going to chase it, but from a different angle. Now I'm going to come in and be a little more prepared. And now I'm going to have this whole new aspect of it. So is there maybe like, let me ask you this, like, is there a skill you picked up on that unexpectedly like turned out to be something that like you were able to really like resonate with and go, okay, this is something I learned through acting that actually helps me in the real world?
I think a lot of it too goes back to when we were talking about improv, being able to think on your feet. It's huge. In any business, I think, or not even business, just in life, being able to think quickly and on your feet and respond to a situation is really valuable. And so, for example, like in my job now as a financial advisor, if I'm in a meeting with a prospect and I think the meeting's going well and everything like that, and then all of a sudden they throw a question out of left field at me, you know, you have to consider, okay, I'm the professional in the room here. I need to look like I have my shit together, but also like, maybe I don't know what the fuck this guy's asking me. Like, I don't know, but you have to be able to figure out, okay, how can I play into the situation? And again, improv, acting in an audition room, those are things you're using all the time. You could be in an audition, and if you have a partner and they throw a line reading at you that's super off the wall, you've got to make it feel organic, and you got to roll with the punch and respond in a way that feels organic. And it's all the same. I mean, it has different window dressing, but it's all the same skill set, you know. Is
there something like that you thought you weren't good at, or maybe something that you struggled with in either of these careers that you were like, man, like I'm really not good at this, or like, man, this makes me super uncomfortable, like, and that you had to challenge yourself? And if there was that thing, what did you do to push yourself out of that? I mean, because you talked about being the shy kid that jumped into theater and drama and all this other things. Is there like a moment that you can think of, like, I'm really uncomfortable right now, like this is not in my comfort zone, and that you had to push through? And what made you do that, or how did you address that?
Yeah. I think there is kind of this expectation, I guess, that you're always going to do everything right, or that is an achievable goal, is that in any given situation, if I just say the right things, it will be good, and I can win this scenario, or I can have it played in my favor. So, for example, I'm thinking of like an audition room. You don't know what they're asking. You don't know what they're looking for. All you know at that point is the script you've been given and that they called you in. So something about you they liked. You don't know if it's how tall you are. You don't know if it's your skin tone. You don't know if it's the timbre of your voice. You don't know if it's your experience. You don't know if it's any of these things. So for me, I still have some of those holdovers, like of when I was a kid. I was very shy, and part of that was I'm a huge people pleaser still. Like I want everyone to feel like they're comfortable in a room, and if there is 1 second of awkwardness, I am like on pins and needles, so I still struggle with that. And it was a huge lesson in learning to kind of realize that it's impossible to please everybody. It sounds trite, and it sounds like, the thing you've heard 1,000 times in your life, but it's different when you finally realize, I'm going to walk into this room, and literally the only thing I can do is not play to their expectations or what I think their expectations are, but instead give my strongest performance that I can, feel comfortable in what I delivered, and that's all I can do. And when the stars align right, that's when you get cast, or that's when you get the big client, or whatever. But you just have to put your best foot forward and not alter it toward what you think those expectations are. And that was one of the biggest lessons I think I learned.
That's awesome, man. That reminds me of a lesson I learned this weekend. There was this amazing coach, Jill Bunny. Yes, her last name is Bunny. Jill and her partner, Kathleen, were awesome. Jill told us, what is that you're feeling that when you're about to go on stage, you're going to call it nervousness. And nervousness, like you're sweating, you're this and that. Like when she was doing the Olympic volleyball stuff and talking to other Olympians and they're asking them questions, and she was basically like, no, nervousness and excitement are the same feeling. Mm-hmm. So if you tell yourself this is not nervousness, this is excitement, how does that change your mindset? And like, I'm thinking about this as I'm about to go on stage after some like incredible speakers and stories and people that I've been sharing space with for a while, going through this with. I still didn't know their stories, but then they start telling their stories and I'm like, fuck, that was amazing. Like, oh shit, like this guy just talked about suicide and death and like all these other things, and like had this miraculous story, but like now it's like, all right, yeah, nervousness. Nope, not nervousness, excitement. Mm-hmm. change that frame of mind. And now I'm excited about this. Like, yeah, cool. Yeah, I got the butterfly. It's just like a baseball game. You're on the line for your team. You're about to go up there, take that at bat. They need that run. They need you to be on base, not strike out, not fly out. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, this is the bottom of the ninth. Like, you got to perform. Like, yeah, you still have those butterflies, but like, are you excited about it? Like, yeah, change the word nervousness to excitement.
Yeah.
That is a huge mindset. And I mean, I'm sure, like, are there things like that you learned that you practice as well?
Absolutely. I think it was a theater teacher that maybe told me this in college, but she said, you know, anytime you had an assignment or something that wasn't turned in on time, and, you know, a student would say, oh yeah, I didn't do it. I procrastinated, or I was lazy, or whatever. She would always say, there is no such thing as procrastination, or there's no such thing as laziness. It's all rooted in fear is what it is. Fear that you're not going to measure up, fear that you're going to go up there and totally bomb, and that everybody's going to realize you're a big failure or whatever. Speaks to exactly what you were saying. That is itself a kind of energy. I mean, it feels like a negative energy, but you are amped up when you're feeling nervous or anxious. You're in a kind of higher state. And it's just a matter of being able to train yourself to redirect that and say, okay, I do have this energy, but I can either let it get to me and think of what's going to happen if it goes wrong. And if I'm in the bottom of the ninth coming up to bat, what happens if I strike out? That's like you're just going to, it's like if you ride motorcycles, you know, target fixation. You start looking at something too much, you start go right toward it. Yeah. So you have to redirect it into a positive space instead and go, you know what? I do have all this energy, and this is a great opportunity for me to direct it into delivering my message or whatever it is you're trying to do. And it's just like you said, it's a mindset thing.
All right, let's do something kind of fun, and like off the cuff. What's maybe like one of the most bizarre or weird experiences you had in Hollywood? Because everybody's gonna latch on to the Hollywood stuff. Like,
I know I have a perfect story for y'all. Are gonna fucking love this. So one time, me and my friend Susie went to this bar called I think the Cat and Fiddle is what it's called, and it's on, if I recall correctly, I don't remember. It's in Hollywood, and we went in there, and it was the trivia night, and I'm a big trivia nerd. That was one of my side jobs in LA. Was I wrote and hosted a trivia and karaoke night at this bar for many years. I say many years. It was like 3 or 4 years.
You got all that like useless information.
Oh
like,
man, in spades. Just, like, I'm like
throw it
busted out. Yeah. So we went to this trivia night, and we sit down, and they hand out the paper and pencil and whatever. And all of a sudden, this guy sits down next to me, to my right, at the very end of the bar. There's one seat left. And I look over, and it's fucking Ron Jeremy, of all people. And I'm like, dude, no way. It turns out he's a regular there. And he looked, this is before he got into all the court legal stuff, but he looked pretty beat up, I will say. And he gets to talking, and especially talking to my friend Susie, and I think he kind of took an eye to her, and he was like, well, can I join y'all's team? It's like, yeah, I guess. In the back of your head, you're going, how many times can I say I played trivia with Ron Jeremy in Hollywood? Like, let's do it.
Let's roll.
He sucked. He got everything wrong, but he was a funny guy to talk to. And that was probably one of the weirdest, just celebrity run. You talk to anybody that lives in LA for long enough, and they've always got the celebrity like run-ins. But he was a weird one.
Trivia with Ron Jeremy.
I
took a tinkle next to Steve Harvey.
Really?
I didn't know that was him.
Did you really just say tinkle?
I didn't want to say take a piss. So I guess we say everything else. So I took a piss. I don't know if it's still there. Is the Sky
Mommy,
Bar?
I got to go potty.
The Sky Bar.
I got kids. The Sky Bar is still there. It's on Sunset.
On the Strip?
Yeah.
It may be. I went to the Strip maybe like 3 times. For whatever reason, I just never ended up in that area.
He lived right off the Strip, right? Like
really?
So Roscoe's Chicken is on Gower.
Yeah.
And he lived on Whitley, which is literally a block over.
Yeah.
And Sunset is just down the street. And I walked in whenever, and I just like, that's when he wore the football helmet, the fake fro.
Oh, yeah.
Like, damn, you know who you are? He says, I hope so. I said, okay. And I just looked because you don't want to be that guy. You're literally got things going on, and you don't want to be that guy to look over and be like, hey, you're Steve. Hey, and start Just look right backstage. Yeah, it was Steve Harvey.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
when you
who's
see
the
him in
most famous
person.
person you took a piss next to?
Steve Harvey.
I met Sam Elliott one time, and that was cool.
That's got to be cool just for him to talk.
Oh, man, I'm telling you, it was for a film premiere he did, and this friend of mine, Ryan Mazie, is a producer, I think, on a movie he was doing at the time, and I can't remember the name of it, but Brian would always text me stuff like that. Hey, I got a premiere tonight. You want to come? Hey, I got an extra ticket to this thing. And it was all this like insider Hollywood shit, and I was always like, yeah, I'd love to. Still, whenever I go out there, he's like, oh, yeah, we're stopping by the recording studio for someone, whoever tonight. And anyway, that night it happened to be for a premiere for one of Sam Elliott's movies. So I go there, and he's easy to spot out of the crowd because he's 7 feet tall and, just a... You recognize
I didn't know
Sam
he was that
Elliott.
tall.
He's not that tall, but he's a tall guy. Probably about my
For
height.
actors in Hollywood, he's a tall guy.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, he's probably 6'4",
That's still
6'3",
slender,
6'4",
tall, yeah.
and he's slender, tall guy. So, and he's got the big mustache. And my friend went up and just goes, "Hey Sam, I'd like you to meet my friend Roper." And I shook his hand and I go, "Mr. Elliott, it's an honor to meet you. I love your movies." And he has that voice, and he just kind of looks me up and down and goes, you and I could play father and son in a movie if we had to. And I immediately was like, dude, get your agent on the phone. Like, let's
Sign
do
me
it.
up.
Sign me up.
Yes, father.
You know what's funny about your piss story? So when I was in Vegas one time, I walk into the urinal at this club, and Dana White is pissing next to me.
Was he angry?
No.
Come on.
We made eye contact. It was like, I was like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "What's up?" And I was like, and we went about our business, but like then we were both at the sink washing our hands.
What's up again?
And I was like, "I got a question for you." He's like, "What's up?" I was like, "How many dudes have tried to shake your hand while you're fucking pissing?" Like, he's like, "It happens all the time, and it's so awkward." And I was like, "I can only imagine." I was like, "Man, I always thought you'd be an asshole. You kind of come across as an asshole a lot of times." He's like, "I get that a lot too." And I was like, "You're really pretty fucking cool." He's like, we talked for a minute, and he invited us to a table and everything.
Oh, that's
super cool dude. But like, funny, it was like, you met somebody like that at a urinal. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how many dudes lose their shit and like want to shake your hand so bad that like you can't even get out of the bathroom? Like,
man,
that's gotta suck.
I had one of my fraternity brothers in college. So Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks, went to Northwestern when I was there. He was a couple years older than me, but at the graduation ceremony when his year was graduating, one of my fraternity brothers took a shit in the stall next to Tom Hanks because he was there for the graduation. I was like, dude, that's a pretty good like. I was like, that's a pretty cool
like a box of chocolates for real, isn't it, Tom?
Oh man, but yeah, just random stuff like that would happen all the time. Or you'd be walking down the street and someone's walking their dog, and you're like, I think that was like Charlize Theron or something, and But most LA people I found are really, it's like any city that has their own quirks. You just kind of get used to it and go, oh yeah. And it's kind of a cool thing for out-of-towners to be aloof about it.
So we get to do stories like now. Mm-hmm. I got to meet, oh my goodness, it just slipped my brain. But he was actually editing the Grindhouse movie. He's from Austin.
Oh, the guy,
Robert Rodriguez.
Okay, yeah.
So a friend of mine, it's this Kodak place. So a buddy of mine, his job was to subtitle movies. Mm-hmm. So for like different languages. So in one theater, he was actually subtitling the Avengers. I got to see the Avengers before they were done with the visual effects. Damn. It was still like cartoon sticks and all that stuff and everything. So you had to sign an NDA and all this other stuff. And Robert Rodriguez was putting the Foley effects on Grindhouse.
Oh, cool.
And so I got a chance to come and meet him. I'm like, you're the reason I want to do movies. I saw El Mariachi and we got to talking and rap. When I say that, that's a cool dude. If you know anything about any of his movies, I said, dude, I took the course. I got the DVDs. I watched El Mariachi. Mm-hmm. I wanted to give blood. And he was just like, damn. And he is really about the spirit of doing whatever you can to make movies. Anything you got, if it's around you, anything in this room, this whole room, this can be a movie to him. And that's is one thing he said it, and he said it again. He said, I made El Mariachi for $8,000, and then Paramount gave me $30 million to remake it. He said, shit, I'll take $30 million and make 30 movies.
Yeah.
I don't need $30 million to make one. Give me $30 million and I'll make 30 of these damn things. And just, It is. I mean, now when you're there though, it's just a conversation. It's LA speak.
Yeah.
But now we're sitting here and it's like, shit. Like then you start thinking about all the people you've ever met that are famous. So I was in radio for 13 years.
You know what? I think that's a key point though too. Like they're still human beings.
That's what I was going to say. They put
day.
their pants on one leg at a time, just like you do.
Yeah, like
they're just doing something different than we do.
And all of them just want to be treated like a human being. Like I mean, I'm sure you experienced that in LA a whole lot of like they don't want to sign an autograph, take a picture, all this other stuff. Like, but like at the same time, like they just want to have a conversation like a normal human being. Not I just got to be treated like a celebrity.
Well, I stopped to think about it one time, several times, really. When you're doing the acting thing, a lot of times you can get caught up in it, and the biggest goal is just, when's the next audition, when's the next project, whatever. But when you stop to think about it, like, okay, say everything goes right for me, and the universe just hands me everything I've ever wanted, and I become a big celebrity.
You step in for Matthew McConaughey and the romantic drama shit.
Exactly. Like, would you be able to handle that? Because it comes with a lot of shit that a lot of people, I think, don't think about, which is like, you are anywhere you go out, it's going to be, pats on the back, handshakes, I want to meet you. Let's get a picture. And you can't be one of those people that snaps or that gets, angry, because then your price just goes way down.
You signed up for this.
Like, that's exactly right. So you got to really give some thought to like, okay, what if everything does work? Like, am I the kind of person that can handle that? And that's why I have a lot of respect for celebrities, because I don't honestly know if I could. I think I would get irritated and just be like a recluse eventually.
But that's why a lot of them have moved out of LA. A ton of people
don't
stay in LA no more.
Austin ain't just weird. It's half LA now.
Yeah. Well, I saw a deal. The guy that was in Top Gun Maverick. He was in that movie with Sydney Sweeney. He's in the new Twister movie.
The one that played Goose's son.
Yeah. No, not Goose's son. Like the asshole guy that was like his.
Oh, the Val Kilmer.
The Val Kilmer guy. Yeah. I can't think of his fucking name, but. Anyway, he just moved back. Him and his wife, I think she's expecting. And so he's from Texas originally. And they're like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out of L.A.
Yeah.
Like, Austin.
Post Malone, who's from here, he lives in Utah.
Yeah, I live in Grapevine now. It's a huge pride point in Grapevine that Post Malone went to Grapevine High School.
Yeah, you got the posty stuff, especially when he was just here for the ACM. So there's that. I think your advice on making the transition of like, you didn't quit, but you're backing yourself up to still pursue your dream is phenomenal advice. I think it's a great position that you're taking. But for others that are making a big career change, like let's just say let's say you shelf the acting and the voiceover stuff, and maybe you don't go back to it. Like, is there advice you would give somebody from what you did on making a big career change like that? Like, because you're making a big pivotal moment shift here. Granted, yours is to back your ultimate goal and dream of being able to pursue that. But is there any advice that you would give based on what you've gone through on doing that shift and making that shift a little bit, but still keeping that in focus? Is there some advice you could give somebody that was maybe considering the same thing?
Yeah, I won't lie to you. Like, the past few years have been challenging in a lot of ways that I wasn't expecting. And it wasn't really the nitty gritty of the career shift so much. You can probably well imagine that a struggling actor doesn't know a lot about stocks and bonds and all of that stuff. So learning that wasn't really the big challenge. The challenge was remembering why you do it. I think if you're going to do a career change like that, or a big shift in lifestyle of any kind, I went from living in LA back to my hometown. Like 90% of my social circle is in LA. So that was a big leave behind, and they still are out there, and I still keep in touch with them, but that was really hard. So I think before you embark on that kind of journey, it's really critical to have a strong foundation and to be able to go back to something and say, why am I doing this? Have a good answer for that. have an answer that you can bank on, even in like your darkest days, that you can go, yes, I still believe in that, and that is why I'm doing it. And whether, I mean, it could be anything. I want to be closer to my family. I want to be able to provide for my family better. I want to make more money. I mean, that's a valid reason to change careers. And as long as you can think about that and still get the warm fuzzies, or at least think about that and feel positive about it, that will see you through the dark days. Because there will be dark days where you're like, man, this was a huge fucking mistake. I made the biggest screw up of my life. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody takes me seriously. You know, you get all these negative voices in your head just about whatever. And the truth is, it's just a matter of time, and you have to just ride the wave until your point of arrival comes. And I think the key to doing that is just believing in what you're doing.
I agree with that 1,000%. And, you know, maybe like, so what does a day in Roper's life look like? Like, I mean, are you a guy, like, what are some of the things, like, what's a typical day for you? Like, you know, you talk to a lot of people that are doing things to better themselves. Mm-hmm. And you see that, like, but like, you seem to really have your head on your shoulders. You have clear path. You have a clear definition. You really know who you are. You know who you want to be. But like, maybe take us through a day of like what like Roper's life looks like. Like, are there in asking this, I want to preface this with like, you know, there's so much stuff of like, people get caught up in trying to do all these things that gurus and influencers tell them to do. Like, you know, like, I journal a lot. Like, this is something I carry with me, like, everywhere. Like, I take notes. I try to do that in the morning. I try to have a little bit of a gratitude practice. Mm-hmm. You know, I haven't been in the gym in over a month and a half, but that's got to change. I just admitted that on, that just happened.
Right, continue your point. But I'll cut you off later.
Yeah, you can get after me later. But like, you know, like, I'm trying to do a lot, you know, like in my day, like, are you very regimented? Do you schedule everything out? Like, so somebody that wants to like follow in your footsteps, you know, like what does a day in Roper's life look like? You know, like, I have to segment everything because, you know, I have a company that it's my 9 to 5. I do my podcast. I have another podcast about to come out. I have these things, and like juggling all that, and then my life with my wife, my family, my friends, balancing all of that. Like, give everybody a sense, like, how do you make it work for you? Mm-hmm. Like, what does a day in Roper's life look like?
Yeah, I think, well, you're right. It's all about balancing. I mean, we're all spinning so many plates these days. It feels like that you have to have some kind of system in place. And I'll right off the bat say I could be better about regimenting my time as far as like this block of time is dedicated to this. But really, so in the course of a day, you'll have a couple of different categories, I guess, of things you got to do. There's the short term, the immediate. Hey, I just got an email from a client telling me he wants to buy this stock for his account. That I need to handle like today. You know, that's got to get done. Or in the next hour or the next 5 minutes, that needs to get done. Then you have the bigger stuff, you know, practice-wide stuff or business-wide stuff. Hey, we need to shift, you know, our menu of services into this, or we need to change how we think about this, general, more macroscopic kind of stuff. And then there's the, frankly, just self-care stuff. The gym is a big one. I didn't go to the gym for a long time, and in the last few years, I've finally gotten to where I'll go consistently, and I found out why I think that is, and we can talk about that in a minute. But you got to make time to take care of yourself too, and you got to have time to unwind and relax. So typically, you know, I wake up, I go to the office, and see what, I mean, you know, hopefully you've planned out what you have, meetings and all that kind of stuff. And obviously those are going to be priorities, but you go, all right, let's think about this at the beginning of the week. Let me set a goal for myself as to what I want to have accomplished. And then in the downtime you've just got to take a step. It doesn't have to be a leap. It doesn't have to be a lap around the track. It can just be a single step in that direction. But how do we move the chains on some of this stuff? Like, I'll give you an example. Like, Dad and I right now, I mean, of course, we're in business together and we have a financial planning practice. And you know, with bringing on a partner for him, there's a lot of infrastructural stuff you have to do just around, okay, what's our client service model going to be like? Having 2 advisors instead of 1 in a practice is a huge shift. How do we decide how we're going to align on a lot of this stuff? And that's more the macroscopic side. And then it's, okay, what fire do I have lit under my ass right now? You know, compliance might be, you know, bugging me to get some continuing education done, or there might be, like I said, a client fire that I have to put out. And I think the biggest skill was just learning how to prioritize that, taking in all the chaos and ordering it, and then making a list for yourself. And whether it's in your head, whether it's on a piece of paper, whether it's in your Outlook calendar, everybody is a little different in that regard, but there has to be some kind of organization. Like you were talking about with the podcast, you finally decide to take the step, and it's like, just do it. You know, there's so much shit that gets in the way if you let it.
If you like Nike, just do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you my work week could be filled up with meetings if I let it. And it's just, oh, you need to be on this webinar, and you need to be on this networking event. You need to be, and if you just do that, if you just ride the wave and just kind of go where the tide takes you, then that's exactly what you're going to be, is just born on the wind. You're never going to strike out and do your own thing. You've got to make a deliberate choice to do that stuff. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if that was probably a really rambling answer to your question.
It's great, man. Like you've given so much great advice, man. Like, and, you know, like going into this, like, again, thank you to your mom and your father for like buying you this opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, but like, I had no idea where we were going to go. You and I have never met.
Never.
Prior to right now.
Yeah.
Like, we introduced when you got here, and like, we're just rapping. Like,
I love it, man.
We're just flowing and like seeing where the story goes. But like, I think there's a lot of valuable information in that, because like people can relate to that. They relate to your story, and like, you've got so much to give here. But like, I mean, shit, you've tied in how communication and putting yourself out there, like, all works for you. And like, all the things you have to do, like, you know, works to your advantage. But like, how you've even shifted, like, you know, you're still pursuing your dream. Like, the dream kind of might be on the back burner a little bit, but like, I guarantee if your agent called you and is like, yo, I got this for you right now, you're like, all right, I'm in a position right now, like, let's fucking rock and roll with that. Like,
yeah,
you're not getting go, but like, people need to see, and I think it's great that you've been sharing this story with everybody, because they can see, like, you don't have to let go of the dream. You can still do that, but like, it may not work in the time and the space that you think it's going to, or you wish or want it to. Sometimes you have to take a step back and go, all right, I still need to take care of these things. These are essential to life. This is essential to me being, you know, family, no family, wife, kids, you know, all that plays factors. But you're even saying, as a single man, you're like, all right, yep, pursuing the dream. Really what I want to do. Was I able to make it work? Nope, not got there yet. I made it work to a certain degree, but like, all right, I still really passionately want to pursue this, but I'm going to build this other thing to help me pursue this. That's huge. And like, that's where I think your financial planning comes into a big play. That's a huge selling point of like, hey, like, look at me. I'm the perfect example. I'm doing this to set myself up for the future. And enough people don't take the aspect to set back and look at their life, look at their goals, their dreams, their wishes, their wants, and kind of prioritize it and go like, all right, I've only been able to give, if I really analyze myself, I've only been given 60%. When I really need to be given 100.
Yeah.
Why couldn't I give that 100? Because I was worried about my financials and paying my rent, being able to pay for the iced tea that I ordered here while I'm on set, when like I'm doing this for $300 and like everything's already spent. Like, that's gone to my mortgage. What whatever your circumstances are. But you were able to like step back from that, really look at it and go, all right, yes, I still really want to do that. And I commend you as a 32-year-old, like, to do that and have that kind of like whereabout about yourself to like look at that and go, all right, I still want to do this. All right, hold up. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to focus on this. I can work with my dad. I can, you know, whatever. Like, I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to secure my stability so that I can focus on this. Like, you haven't lost sight of your goal or your dream. You're still working towards that. You have two different things working, which so many people lose sight of, and they're not actually doing it. Like, they're afraid to let go of one to do the other, but they need the other to do the other to their best ability.
Exactly.
And you've kind of mastered that in that realm of doing that. What's up, Jacob?
What's up, baby?
Best bartender at ICC.
Didn't know if we keep a running tally over here of how many we had.
But, you know, like, I think that's really impactful, man. And I hope people like really take that from this podcast because, man, I don't know many people your age. I'm a little bit older than you, but you know, to see somebody have the whereabouts of themselves to do that and say, all right, I'm going to go over here and chase my dream, but I can't do that the way I've been doing it. You were able to step back and go, all right, what I'm doing is not getting me where I want to be. I'm going to add this other factor in, and then I'm going to come back to it. Like, this ain't gone. This is, I didn't ring the bell. I'm not quitting, but I'm coming back to this, and I'll probably be stronger and I'll probably be better at doing that because now I'm not worried about the outside factors. I'm just going to do me. And then when that goes, game on, let's rock and roll.
And I think you hit on it. A big part of it too is like, you have to be able to be honest with yourself when something's not working. And you've got to be willing to take a hard look and answer the hard questions, even in an internal dialogue. And I think that's why, like, I like that you journal, and I have in the past. I don't do it regularly anymore, and I need to, because journaling every day forces you to write down your thoughts rather than just have them. You can have this abstract thought, this isn't working. I don't know why yet. We'll figure it out. When you write it down on paper, it becomes concrete, and it becomes a real thing. And you can then take a step back. See, there you go. You got it.
Stays with me everywhere I go.
Yeah. I mean, just having the capacity to keep your thoughts organized is so important. And a big part of that on any venture is like, I can't let my ego get in the way, and I can't pretend like everything's rosy all the time. Like, if something's not working, we got to have the fortitude to say, we need to take a hard look at this, change what's not working, and make it so that it is.
Yeah. And you know, like, I can look back, like, I've fucked up a lot in my life. Like, and like, I mean, we all have. Like, how real are you going to be with yourself about the fucked up? Like, do I have to keep going down that path? No, I don't. Like, I can make changes, you know, like, I can put myself out of my comfort zone.
One thing I read to that point, a bear has to hibernate. Can't do anything about it. A bird has to fly south for the winter. They can't do anything about it. It's in their DNA. The human being is the only animal on the planet that can change its course at any time it decides to. You can literally stand up from here right now, go back to Hollywood. You can do anything you want to whenever your mind is set to it and you go down that path.
Yeah.
Nature, nothing else around you, circumstance, there's no excuse. You can actually alter what you do based on the actions that you take.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it, you know, boils down to discipline, man. Like, I think the two biggest things that are hindering society today is, one, communication. For the longest time, we are the most advanced civilization in the history of man. We have the greatest technology. We have, the teacher that told you never have a calculator in your pocket. You gotta fucking be an
that
algebra
turned out to be a
whiz.
load of horse shit.
That's some bullshit. I got it right here. But like, we've turned this into a lifeline, and we don't know how to let go of this. And we can be the most advanced civilization known to man now, but this is like weaning out conversation. It's weaning out tone, inflection, all the things that are vital to human conversation and relationship building. Like, if I send you a thing like, damn, Roper, are you in? You out? And you're like, what the fuck is that, man?
Are you mad? Are you happy?
Are you mad?
Are you
happy?
like,
My mom already bought this shit. Like, are you like what? What's it? But I mean, but that could just be like, hey, man, like, you're not real good at text. Like, and knowing you about this now, you remind me of my old roommate, Brandon. I'm calling you out, fucker. But like, it's the same thing. Like,
Brandon,
but if
I'm with
you and I
man.
had picked up the phone, if I just had your cell phone right out the gate, had a conversation like, all right, man, like, how are we going to do this? Like, what are we going to do? Like, the conversation starts flowing. You start building a relationship. Like, people get so caught up in this, like, DM, my instant message, my text message, my phone, like, but you don't even want to pick it up and have that. And a lot of that now is because, like, sometimes when you hit answer, you're going to have a difficult conversation. That sucks, but you know what? Put your big boy pants on. Yeah. That's life. We're going to have a difficult conversation. Or maybe it's just that, like, we just need to have conversation. Like, there's people need to learn there's an appropriate time for text, appropriate time for an email, and sometimes there's just you need to pick up the fucking phone and call someone. Like, pick it up. Have a conversation. And when you're there and you're actually having the conversation, put the shit aside. Like, you need to build rapport, relationship. And, I've got some people I'm training and working with now too that, like, we have to bridge another gap as well, that, like, some people get caught up in their accolades and talking about themselves.
Yes.
Like, make it about that, not this.
Yeah.
Like, like, if your client or prospect or friend is telling you a story, do not be sitting there thinking about the next greatest thing you can tell them.
That is
or
so
how
right.
you one up their story. Let them live in the moment. Like, well, hey, Roper, what was so great about that Cowboys game you went to? Don't tell them about the Super Bowl you went to that one-ups their story.
Right.
Oh, Roper, man, dude, that Eagles-Cowboys game, man, like, I gave up my tickets for that game, but, like, I remember where I was. Like, I was at home on the seat of my, on the edge of my seat, like, just dying watching that game, but, like,
engage with that story.
What was that like for you, man?
Yeah.
Like, you were there. Like, tell me more about that. Like, people want to tell you their story. People want to talk about that. Like, how have you used that in your career and in your journey? Because I know that's a big part of, like,
that's a great question, actually, and I think I have a good answer for you, which is rare, but
let's go.
So I told you when I was a kid, I used to read a lot, and it was a lot of, as a kid, you're reading a lot of young adult stuff and whatever, but occasionally I'd venture out and I'd just pick a book off my parents' shelf and read it and just go, what the fuck is this? I might get 2 pages into it and decide it's boring. One of the best books that I found that way was called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie.
Have you read it? Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's a book. If you haven't read it, read that damn book.
Read it often.
Yes. But it's exactly that. It's the how to be an excellent conversationalist is to not talk, is to ask somebody an open-ended question about themselves.
One of these.
Exactly. Get them talking about something they're interested in. Follow up with questions about it. And hell, I mean, not only do you get a good conversation out of it, people love to talk about things they're familiar with and that are about themselves. but also you might learn something if you pay attention.
Do you see this a lot in your generation though? Because like, I mean, you're a decade below me, so like, you know, not. And you are one of those people like I feel like you're an old soul. You're an older soul. You remind me a lot of me that like, you know, you grow past that, like, you know, and you probably have to relate with a lot of people older than you, younger than you. But when you're dealing with those generations, like how do you vibe with that? Like how do you inflect that upon them? Because like I see it a lot with this younger generation that they don't know how to do that. Yeah,
I mean, I consider myself lucky that at 32 years old, I'm a member of the last generation to remember a life pre-internet, which I do fundamentally believe.
AOL 4.0, download our CD.
Man, that log-on noise at the modem and all that stuff, it's burned into my mind, man. I remember that. God forbid somebody picks up the phone when you're trying to look at stuff online. But I mean, I remember a time before that, albeit short, but I mean, with nowadays, I really feel bad for kids growing up nowadays because they have more technology we've ever had, but there is such a social pressure to be on social media, to be posting, to be making your life out like we were talking about with the G5 sets and all that stuff. Like make your life out to be more than it is. And I think that's the big ill in the social media society today is that like people are feeling like they have to live up to absolutely unrealistic expectations, and kids especially, because when did you care more about what people thought of you than when you were a kid? Never. I mean, that's right. Like
everybody wants to fit in.
Exactly. And so this idea that you have to be talking about yourself and hyping yourself up, and this is all the great shit I'm doing, and this is why I'm somebody worth talking to, is I don't blame younger kids today for thinking that way, because it's just how the environment around them is. Yeah. But something really is lost in the art of conversation and the art of discovering new things and discovering who another person is by putting that to the side and saying, having the confidence to say, I know who I am. I don't need to reaffirm that. What I want to learn is who this person is. And how can that help? Not that it's all about helping me, but how can I build with that?
And then tying that back into how you and them are relatable.
Exactly. Yeah. And I fear it becoming a lost art, but I don't know. I don't want to be all doom and gloom either. I mean, humans are very resilient, and we've always found a way to get along. So
no, but we're going to have to get back to our roots of learning how to communicate with one another and like really build a relationship. Like, you know, like it's organic when you let it happen like this. Like, I can't think of a better example than this. Like, you and I did not know each other prior to tonight.
Till, a few hours ago. That was it.
Like, you walked in the door. I told you to be here by 5:30. You showed up at like 5:05. Like, not many people from your generation do that. Most of them come in here coasting at 5:30, 5:35. I'm like, cool. You made it. We're good. Like, all right. But like, you and I now have like sat here and rapped for a while. And I'm like, man, I want to fucking know you more.
I don't know, like simpatico, like, man. I'm feeling
like I want to get to know you more. Like, but I mean, we've been doing that over the last 2 hours, but like, people are losing the art of doing that. Like having a conversation.
People are very standoffish now. You can't even approach somebody with a conversation.
Like, but like that's what it really takes. Like we're building a relationship. We're building rapport. We're having a conversation. What's important to you? What's important to me? Like, we're not like one-upping each other here. We're not like doing these things. So, you know, that's what I think is really important. And I hope that's what people are gaining from this and like seeing this. And like, man, you got to hear an amazing story tonight of Roper doing his thing and like how he's jockeyed from like his uncomfortable zone to he signed up for theater and like said, X-nay the technical shit. I'm not a light and sound guy. Like, fuck that shit. I want to be Tom Cruise. I want to be like risky business sliding into my underwear. You know, like whatever. But like he got out of his comfort zone and he showed you what that's like. And even then that didn't go as he had planned, he didn't let go of it. He transitioned. He's putting this out here now. And that's his backup plan to let him be able to be more focused on chasing his dream. I can't think of a better story than that. Like you're touching all the points and you're showing people like, don't quit, adapt.
Exactly.
And grow.
I call it pivot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's pivoted. He's adapting and he's growing. So we got to wrap this up, man. I could do this for hours more with you. Like we could just do this and we'll do this some more. But so the show is called Common Sense.
Yeah.
Maybe there's not something we've talked about. Maybe there's something like you wanted to touch on a little bit more, or maybe just some advice you have. We like to give everybody their segment of this is my 2 cents.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess as a departing message, kind of capping off everything we've talked about, if you're listening to this and you have something that you feel that you want to maybe go for and you're a little nervous about it, or you think maybe you're totally disheartened about it, you feel it's unrealistic or whatever, just take bite-sized chunks out of it and remember that it's just success does not happen overnight. If there's one thing I learned from all my time in LA and moving into the finance industry, nothing happens overnight. It takes consistency. And even if it's 1 step a day, keep moving on it and it will eventually happen. And I think that's really the key. It's not, in finance, we always say it's not timing the market, it's time in the market. Well, it's kind of the same for everything else. It's not how explosive you can come out of the gate. It's how long are you willing to stick with it.
Have the discipline to do the things that the others won't do to chase your dreams.
Exactly. That's right.
Man, I want to thank you for coming on here, man. Like
that was good. I'm sorry. I just had to give you your props. That was good.
Yeah, man. Discipline to do the hard things is aside, my passion about talking about communication and relationship building is definitely there. And that's where I'm going in a certain segment. But having the discipline to do the things that are hard. So many people lack discipline. They do it when it's easy, but they won't do it when it's hard.
Yeah.
You've got to have discipline, period. General McCaven, I'm going to butcher this, and I'm really sorry because I truly do admire what you've done. His book is something called Make Your Bed. This dude was a Navy SEAL for a long fucking time, rose up the ranks, and his commencement speech.
See the admiral that gave the commencement speech at UT?
About
I've heard that.
Making your fucking bed.
I've watched that. It's so good.
Yeah, but how many people are I can't even make my fucking bed in the morning when you go? All right, I could make that excuse too. My wife is still sleeping in my bed when I leave for work. I'm not going to make my bed. But the principle still applies.
Yeah.
Have the self-discipline to do the common, the uncommon, the necessary things.
Yeah.
If you make a goal, write out what it's going to take to get there. But and maybe it's not going to happen on the timeline that you think, wish, or want it to, but you continue to have the discipline to do those things along the way. Guess what? I'll bet you my life savings that if you have the discipline and keep doing it, you're going to get there. It may not be on your time frame, but if you have the discipline to keep doing it, you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Discipline, keep going at it. And that's what I think so great about your story. I was nervous about tonight. I was I don't know shit about
this might be some Yahoo show.
I got this dude coming on, and I have to honor this. I'm doing this for Naz. I kept telling myself, I'm just doing this for Naz. But you know what? This has been an amazing podcast, man. You have shared so much, and
I'm glad
your pivot of like, I haven't lost sight of my dream. Like, I'm still going to do this. Like, maybe I'm 40 years old, gray-haired silver fox, and now I got the Morgan Freeman voice. You know, like
Alan Rickman, you know, his first movie was Die Hard. He was like 45 or 50 when he got cast in Die Hard, and then he went on to be Snape in Harry Potter.
And fuck, man, I wish that for you. I hope that happens, man. But I love that you were able to tell that story of me going on that journey. You went on that journey, and then you said, all right, this ain't working. Whether that was a COVID blessing or whatever, you were like, I got to get my financial shit under control. And I want to take that element out and be able to rock on and go. Now, when I come back to it, because I ain't forgot about it, I'm still pursuing that. I'm going to rock on.
Stronger than ever.
Do that.
Yeah.
Now, I can do that free will. I can pursue my dream and not have to worry about the financial implications.
Oh, yeah.
And that's huge. So if you guys want to talk to him, we'll share the links in this show. And if you want financial advice from somebody that has that kind of mindset and that's the path you're going down, there you go. So I'm going to drop a quick bomb real quick before we wrap this up. Biz is like fucking giving me the brown eye over there. Like stanky eye
like,
over there.
Shit,
like,
what is this about
It's
to be?
not about
Bro,
the
you're
time. I'm
over
like, drop a bomb. He always catches me off guard like, oh, shit.
Yeah. So I'm going to drop a bomb. So those of you that are actually listening or watching live, I'm going to share the surprise guest with you for
Okay, I know this one. Never mind.
6'5". So 6'5", y'all. I went and did this last weekend, and I can't believe he's already agreed to this and done this fast, because I was just trying to have dinner and a cigar with him, to be completely honest with all of
Being
you.
that I'm off, I hope I get invited to dinner. But anyway.
Because he's just now a good friend and an ally in my corner. But 6'5", y'all, and 6'6" isn't a joke either, because 6'6", and I feel... I'm going to apologize to you now because I can, and this is my fucking show. My little brother is going to be coming on the show.
I said we do.
Hell yeah.
But, TJ, I'm really fucking sorry, bro. You have to follow the biggest, most honorable, badass friend of mine that I know. And I'm really sorry for that, but we're going to make that shit happen. But Jason Redman is going to be here on 6'5" with us, and I can't wait for that show for y'all. Like, y'all got to meet my friend, know what he's about, and if you don't know his story, Google him, look that shit up, go ahead, because I'm going to tell you right now, he is inadvertently going to tell you a lot of stuff that's going to tie back into his story, but I'm not asking him those questions. We're not doing every other interview he's done since he's retired as a Purple Heart gold, bronze medal lieutenant of a SEAL team. We're not going to do all that, but we are going to talk about a lot of different things, and we're going to bring you that show. So I hope you all will tune in for that, and I'm looking forward to bringing that to you. And again, Roper, man, like,
We fucking
awesome,
did it,
man. Like,
somehow we
could
got
go
through
for
it.
2 more hours. Like,
I know, man.
You're gonna have to come back on. Like,
I'd love to anytime.
yeah, like we're gonna do a round 2 of this, because I think there's so much people can learn from you and like all the different things that you bring to the table.
Hell, we hadn't even talked about cars yet. We could do a whole 2-hour segment on cars if you want to.
I know we could do all that, but we'll save that for episode 2. We'll bring Roper back. Y'all tell us in the comments, like, y'all tell me, like, bring Roper back. Like, do it. Like, we'll rock and roll with that. But thank you for tuning in. There is no show next week. Like, I'm out. I'm taking some vacation. Biz has shit to do. and we're gonna rock with
I
that.
gotta go be a best man in a damn wedding.
Oh, so sorry. Are you gonna wear SpongeBob SquarePants for that?
I may have them on just for luck, so I don't.
Just in case the dance floor gets out of control, you want to be prepared. You know,
if the dance floor gets out of, I want to see what the dance floor getting out of control looks like for Biz.
I would love to see that too.
I want to see that.
You'll never. That's why I became. If you didn't, I'm a DJ.
So okay. So you never had to get out in there. Nope. Okay.
I want to see what that looks like.
Oh man.
When the DJ just scratched some Taylor Swift in there, and he's like,
"There you go."
What happened? All right, y'all. Thank you for joining us. I hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope you gained a lot of knowledge from this. We'll be back in 2 weeks. You're gonna get double episodes, Wednesday and Thursday, and we're gonna drop it on you. So let's do it. Peace.
Peace.